Local school districts work to adapt to a nationwide school bus driver shortage. I'm Zach Dodge with the story.
Also, the latest after deadly explosions in Afghanistan where American soldiers are among those killed.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abbey. Chaos turned into catastrophe at Kabul's airport today after suicide bombers struck desperate crowds waiting for a flight out. U.S. military is hurting tonight after 13 of its members lost their lives. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera is in Washington, where the president said those responsible would pay.
There is stepped-up security at Kabul's airport as flights out of Afghanistan continue. And for now, the president's pullout plan remains on track despite fears of more attacks.
We will hunt you down and make you pay.
President Biden vowing revenge hours after back-to-back suicide bombers tore through the huge crowd outside Kabul's airport Thursday, killing more than a dozen U.S. troops and dozens of Afghans.
I've repeatedly said this mission was extraordinarily dangerous, and why I've been so determined to limit the duration of this mission.
The president says the attack was coordinated by terror group ISIS-K. U.S. top General Kenneth McKenzie sending this warning.
We believe it is their desire to continue those attacks, and we expect those attacks to continue.
Critics in Congress are blaming the rushed pullout, saying evacuations should have started in the spring.
Myself and others in Congress were demanding that he start back in April. They didn't even put a task force together until June to even begin getting started.
President Biden is expected to meet with his national security team Friday morning to get an update on the evolving situation in Kabul. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Parsons, Kansas police yesterday arrested a man they say assaulted a woman and threatened her. Authorities say the suspect punched the woman from behind, put her in a chokehold while making physical threats. The woman broke free, grabbed one of their children, and left the house to call police. Police say that child, a 1-year-old, suffered non-life-threatening injuries during the incident. The suspect then went to a family member's house in Altamont where the other child, where he was arrested. Police in Bella Vista, Arkansas believe they've found the body of a 74-year-old named Barbara Doyle. Police say she went missing from Bella Vista back on August 12th. Doyle's remains were found in some woods off Arkansas Highway 279 near a church. No foul play is being suspected, but police are still looking over the area where the body was found. Chris Warner joining us now with first look at the forecast. It's hard to breathe out there during the heat of the day.
It is, and unfortunately, Jordan and everybody at home, it's going to be hard to breathe for at least the next day or so. I'll get to that here shortly. But first, we're going to take a look at the almanac. We promised a high of 96. Guess what we reached? 96. Low of 75. Above normal, but not quite record, so I suppose that's a good thing. Skywatch Storm Tracker, not anything going on out there right now. In fact, all the activity is confined to our north and east up around the St. Louis area where they've had severe weather. They've had just strong storms, heavy rain. Unfortunately, we're not seeing any of that. What we are seeing is this heat advisory. Now, I have good news. I did misspeak earlier. It happens. Nobody's perfect. But southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, out of the heat advisory. Only Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties in Kansas, and then, of course, southwest Missouri under the extended heat advisory, which runs until 7 o'clock tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll get some relief after that. Temperatures across the area are going to just not look too shabby. We're going to start at 76, heat up again to 96, maybe an isolated storm or two. We're going to break it all down here in just a few minutes.
Chris Warner, thank you so much. School ride-sharing company Hop, Skip, Drive found that 80% of districts that responded to a March survey are having trouble finding enough school bus drivers. It's not a new issue by any means, but it is adding more stress, causing local districts to get creative to make the return to school work. KOM's Zach Dodge has details on what the impact is to districts and students.
Joplin School's transportation director Mike Bevis gets back behind the wheel.
We kind of take turns. I'll drive one for a couple days and then Justin will take one.
But it's out of necessity.
We started out this year about 15 drivers short.
So if you've noticed some buses running behind, it's not your imagination.
We're just asking folks to be patient and we'll get them there, and things are already smoothing out more.
Driver shortages aren't necessarily a new problem. 2 years ago, Joplin was also short on drivers.
But now I've had, I think, 6 applicants in about 6 months.
So the district is working with 49 drivers when they'd normally have 62 and 3 subs when they like to have 12. To compensate, they've combined 12 routes to turn them into 6.
We have a driver on a route, but as soon as one driver drops out for a trip or sickness, we can't really combine the combinations like we did before because there's just no wiggle room.
In Carthage, they aren't dealing with a shortage in full-time drivers, but they are hiring several substitutes so that if full-time drivers have to be quarantined, they're not left in a tough spot.
But with us, you know, there's a small population of folks that actually want to do this job.
And with the pandemic still hitting the 4 states, getting more people hired will take some time.
If you're able to, transport your student.
And if you can't do that, be patient as the bumps get smoothed out.
Yeah, patience is key when it comes to transportation. You know, we're not always the fastest, but we're always going to be the safest.
In Joplin and Carthage, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Joplin was able to hire 5 drivers before school started, but they still are low on substitutes. If you are interested in being a school bus driver, we have information on how to apply in this story on our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. With the FDA authorization of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, Integris Health has moved to require COVID-19 vaccinations among its employees. Integris operates several healthcare facilities in Oklahoma, including a hospital over in Miami. Employees have until October 15th to submit a request for medical or religious exemption. Otherwise, they must receive both doses of the COVID-19 vaccine by November 1st. Several states say they're running out of ICU beds as COVID-related hospitalizations increase. And health officials say a growing number of hospital admissions involve children. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seary has more.
The Delta variant maintains its hold on parts of the country, with hospitalizations at their highest levels in 7 months. The South hit particularly hard by this latest wave. Florida currently leads the nation with more than 17,000 people hospitalized, followed by Texas with around 14,000.
The situation is really, very, very serious. Really, the simple thing is to get vaccinated.
Public health officials say more and more of these hospitalizations involve children. The CDC reports the 7-day average of daily hospital admissions tops 300 for people under 18. The agency says through the month of August, more than 50,000 children were admitted. But despite the surge, some governors are doubling down on their stances against prevention measures, such as mask mandates.
There's parents whose kids have not done well wearing the mask all day. It has taken a toll on kids throughout Florida. Now, not every parent maybe thinks that, but many do.
Health experts maintain the best way to protect children is to make sure people around them get vaccinated. But with more children contracting the virus, some doctors fear parents may seek off-label use of COVID vaccines for kids under 12.
We need to figure out the right dosage, the right intervals, and really the right type of overall approaches for them that might be a little bit different than adults.
The Biden administration says it expects children under 12 to become vaccine eligible later this year. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seary, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another 4-state hero. Paul Mott served in the U.S. Navy from 1943 to 46. Native of Zinkville, Oklahoma, Mott earned several awards. We are proud to thank and salute Paul Mott. He's tonight's 4-state hero. Chris is next with a complete look at the forecast a bit later. The Liberal Bulldogs opening up the season tomorrow night under a new head coach. Going to have the Bulldog season preview in sports.
Well, we saw another hot and humid day today. I feel like we could just take yesterday's forecast and run it again, but thankfully there are some changes on the way. Another beautiful time lapse from Indigo Sky Casino and Resort just outside of Seneca, Missouri. You can almost see the heat in this one as the sun goes through the sky. And you can see the heat on this little chart. Over the last 36 hours, temperatures 95 yesterday. We made it about the same today. It was pretty toasty, pretty mild overnight. And that trend's going to continue for a little bit. Right now, 7th and Range Line doesn't look too bad. It's dark, so you can't see any heat, but I promise it's still out there. In fact, it's 86, still feels like it's 91 degrees. And that light breeze, of course, not doing anything. Dew point at 71. Those are the temperatures we're really seeing across the area. We've got most of us. There's a few upper 70s. Southeast Kansas, the cooler spot for this time of night. Usually they're a bit warmer, but we got mid-80s for just about everybody else. Those dew points I talked about, they're still up there. Look at Fort Scott sitting at 80, Pittsburgh 76 for a dew point. And when you put that all together, that gets into that muggy to soupy range. And for poor Fort Scott, that goes into the miserable range. It's not even on this chart. And with those dew points, here comes that heat index. 91 is what it is in Webb City. Only 86 in Fort Scott despite that high dew point. And this is going to continue at least one more day. So as we go through the day tomorrow, again, like we saw today around Monette and parts of northwest Arkansas, we saw a few scattered storms. They fired up, died quick. We may see the same thing again tomorrow evening, tomorrow afternoon. So that's why 76 in the morning, 85 by 10, 91 by noon, and we've gone ahead and put in a storm chance at around 4 o'clock, a little after, still going for a high of 96. So that's why for Cherokee, Crawford, and Bourbon counties in southeast Kansas and all of southwest Missouri, that heat advisory has been extended until Friday at 7 o'clock, but the rest of southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma removed from it. Skywatch Storm Tracker, nothing in our area. You got to go off to the north and east in order to see anything, and this is where we saw some of those storms before, but again, nothing out there right now. As we head into the future, so we're going to get nice and mild again tonight. We're going to start the day that way tomorrow. As we head into the afternoon, there's some storms maybe trying to get going. Really not going to see that much. As we head into the weekend, we've got one more fairly mild day. 75 is how we're going to start the day on Saturday. And then as we head into the afternoon, not as warm. And again on Saturday, another possible round of some pop-up storms. But those storm chances will get better as we head into next week. Check this out. This is a nice little cold front off to the north and the west, and it wants to try and make its way in here at the start of next week. Heat indices again tomorrow. This is why that heat advisory continues. They're going to be upper 90s and into the 100-degree range for many of us, but relief on the way in that 7-day forecast, which you can see here. We're going to cool off, if you can call it that, to the lower 90s, upper 80s, but storm chances increase early next week before the heat starts to return by next weekend.
All right, Chris Warner, thanks as always. Coming up, going to look at the status of emergency funds supposed to be used for rental assistance from the federal government. About 89% of emergency rental assistance funds have not yet been distributed. This comes as the landlord's ability to evict tenants hinges on a U.S. Supreme Court ruling. Fox News correspondent David Spunt takes a closer look from Washington.
Most landlords don't want to evict.
With millions of Americans struggling to pay rent, the Centers for Disease Control is touting its extended eviction moratorium. The goal, keep people off the street during the pandemic. But in some cases, mom and pop landlords say not being able to evict is emotionally and financially paralyzing.
There's a lot of us out there that just need to reclaim our homes for our own personal reasons.
Rosanna Mori is fighting an aggressive form of blood cancer and tells Fox News she decided not to renew her tenant's lease in June 2020. Mori and her tenant both live in different sections of her Long Island, New York home. She wants her tenant out so family can move in.
This is not a second income home. This is not a property that we have that we're making all this money off of.
Mori's tenant declared hardship due to COVID-19 and has stopped paying rent. Even the president himself admits the moratorium may not be legal.
It's not likely to pass constitutional muster.
But he's pushing full speed ahead, admitting the longer the issue is tied up in courts, he can continue to dole out some $45 billion in rental assistance. According to the Census Bureau, earlier this month, around 3.5 million people said they faced eviction by October. Progressives on Capitol Hill, including squad members Congresswomen Ayanna Pressley and Rashida Tlaib, want to cancel rent altogether, citing the pandemic. Their latest financial filings show both recently made money off rental properties, putting them in the landlord club with Rosanna Mori.
I should be able to reclaim my home when I want to.
The current moratorium is in effect through October 3rd. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland recently met with the Chief Justices of several state Supreme Courts to discuss eviction diversion methods. In Washington, David Spunt, Fox News.
And tonight, the U.S. Supreme Court released a verdict. The court's conservative majority is allowing evictions to resume. Next, a new dimension of technology.
Advances in technology are allowing more people to integrate their bodies with robotic devices. I'm Marianne Rafferty with a look at the future coming up.
If technology existed that could help you run faster or play an instrument better, would you use it? Well, a growing number of people are saying, yeah, I would. This is researchers continue experimenting with different ways to blend humans and robotic devices together. Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty has the scoop.
Since the dawn of time, people have been inventing gadgets to help make their lives easier. But as technology advances, so does the way we use it.
How can we help people achieve all they can achieve and beyond through the means of technology?
In London, educators at Imperial College are exploring the concept of modern-day cyborgs by attaching a mechanical thumb to a piano player's hand. The musician taps their foot, which triggers an electrical signal, causing their 11th finger to move. Researchers say it took about an hour, but the players' brains were able to recognize the new digit and adapt to using it.
At the start, it feels maybe a bit more like a tool that is attached to you, like, you're holding a drumstick. But, after an hour or two, it just feels like an extension of you.
But having an extra finger can do more than help you play an instrument. The technology could be tweaked to let people type and text faster, hold more bags during a trip to the grocery store, and more.
If we don't embrace technologies, then we are not moving.
Olympic marathon runner and world record holder Eliud Kipchoge may not be getting outfitted with a robotic thumb, but like many athletes, he uses special carbon fiber sneakers, which help him run faster. Begging the question, just how far will we push the boundaries of integrating our bodies with technology? And while advocates say devices that elevate the way we function should be celebrated, critics say these technological advances could be putting some people at an unfair advantage. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Coming up, either this new Mountain Dew drink is going to make the tummy satisfied or, if you know what I mean, extremely upset. Today is National Dog Day. The day is celebrated annually on August 26th and shows appreciation to the hundreds of dogs and their breeds across the globe. Dogs are an important part of society, playing a number of roles, of course, including protecting families, our law enforcement members, as well as assisting blind folks. National Dog Day was founded back in 2004 and aims to encourage people to adopt dogs from shelters. This looks disgusting, but here it is. A new Mountain Dew flavor is here, and it's coming in hot. Pepsi Company has unveiled its latest invention, a Flamin' Hot Mountain Dew drink. According to a company news release, the drink is a, quote, unique blend of spicy and classic sweet citrus flavor of Mountain Dew. Yeah, I'm shaking my head no, too. Mountain Dew fans can grab one of the Flamin' drinks if you're so brave, starting on Tuesday next week on the company's virtual store. Then there's this. Al Capone's personal items are going up for auction. The notorious Chicago mob boss's granddaughter saying the family is going to auction off some of his prized possessions next month. The items up for auction include jewelry, furniture, home movies even, and a 3-page handwritten letter Capone wrote to his son while he was in prison. Witherell's Auction House will hold the auction on October 8th at the Sutter Club in Sacramento, California. The auction, by the way, is expected to generate well over $700,000. This reminds me, as a kid growing up in Chicago, being the history geek that I am, visiting Mount Carmel Cemetery, where Capone is reportedly buried.
Did you buy protection with those?
I didn't bring protection with me, no. Reportedly buried, many funeral directors in that area have their own theory. History, mystery. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming your way.
Police in Baxter Springs say criminals are using a smartphone app to help break into cars. You'll learn what they're doing to fight back coming up.
Also, the Neosho School District planning to build a new community storm shelter thanks to a FEMA grant. Police in Baxter Springs, Kansas say criminals are breaking into cars and using a smartphone app to avoid the law. But Baxter Springs PD is fighting back with a high-tech solution of its own. KOM's Mike Mahoney spoke to the PD to learn more.
Police in Baxter Springs, Kansas are warning residents to keep their cars locked following a recent string of vehicle break-ins.
We do have suspects that we've identified in a few different ways. Like I said, proof in court's different than what we have having suspects, but we are working the case strongly, and I think we'll come to a good end.
Baxter Springs Police Chief Russ Harper says the crooks are using a smartphone app to listen in on police scanners and determine what part of town the cops can be found.
If we're working a traffic accident down the road, they know where we're at, and now they can have it right on their iPhone and go commit their crime while we're busy.
But criminals aren't the only ones using technology to get ahead in Baxter Springs. In addition to utilizing more plainclothes officers in unmarked vehicles, the Baxter Springs Police Department is also upgrading their vehicles.
We're now purchasing a new system that actually goes on our vehicles. It's like a flare like you see on the helicopter systems that will pick up heat sensations at night. So anybody that's out hiding from a mile away in the middle of the dark, in the middle of the night, will be able to see.
Police say southeast Baxter Springs is a popular spot for car break-ins because it's one of the town's more affluent neighborhoods. Lloyd Woods lives in that part of town, and he says he's impressed by the high-tech solution being implemented by local police.
I think the police is going to eventually catch them, especially the fact that they're going to get the thermal cameras and that they're moving in such a positive direction.
In Baxter Springs, Kansas, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
The new thermal imaging devices cost a little under $4,000 each. The Baxter Springs PD is buying one and applying for grants to get more. The Neosho, Missouri School District received a $1.8 million FEMA grant. The money is going to allow a previously planned multi-purpose storm shelter at Benton Elementary to become a FEMA community safe room. Now, the safe room is going to be larger than the planned storm shelter and have automated functions so the whole community can use it in an emergency, not just the school. It's also going to be used to offer pre-K services at the elementary.
Number one, it's for protection and safety. And then number two, we try to design them to fit a need at that particular location. The need that we had at Benton was we needed some additional general purpose space.
The safe room is going to feature 2 classrooms and a common room. Construction will begin early next year. Well, Tatum Von Winklepleck of Pittsburgh has a new ride thanks to the Kansas Lottery. She won a 2021 Ford Escape through the lottery's Sweet Escape promotion. Winklepleck says she never thought she'd win the SUV, but at least she had a small chance. How about that? Enjoy your new ride. As COVID cases surge, companies are telling their employees to hold off on coming back into the office. Ford Motor Company is pushing back employees coming into the office from October to January of 2022. This marks the second time the car company is delaying folks coming back to the office. Ford is also reportedly debating whether to expand its vaccine mandate, which previously only affected people who traveled internationally. Companies like Amtrak, Facebook, Google have all announced vaccine mandates for anyone returning to in-office work. Then there's GM. General Motors is going to now require all U.S. salaried workers report their COVID-19 vaccination status. This as more companies confront the issue of how to access and assess workforce immunity. Earlier this month, GM required all of its U.S. white-collar workers to disclose whether they have been immunized. GM hasn't required employees to get the COVID-19 vaccine, by the way. Firefighters are working around the clock to battle a number of fires throughout northern and southern California. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Hunt has the latest.
Firefighters in California are working tirelessly to contain dozens of fires raging throughout the state. In Northern California, the Caldor fire has destroyed more than 600 structures since it broke out on August 14th. The fire has now spread over the Sierra Nevada and threatens to damage homes as it inches closer to Lake Tahoe. Fire officials, though, are optimistic the fire will be contained in the coming days as weather conditions improve.
It has been incrementally a little bit hotter, a little bit drier. We still aren't having any of those red flag weather conditions that would be giving us a lot of concern at this point.
The fire is also affecting air quality in the region. Lake Tahoe and surrounding areas had some of the nation's worst air pollution this week. The situation is so dire, schools in Reno, Nevada shut their doors for 2 days as a precaution. Despite that, residents are being urged to stay calm and to listen to guidance from local officials.
We don't want to have anybody panic. We just want to be able to keep up to date with constant information.
And Southern California hasn't been spared from the threat of wildfires. In San Bernardino County, the South Fire has forced nearly 1,000 residents to evacuate their homes. Warmer weather and high winds will boost the risk of additional wildfires in the area through the weekend. President Biden has approved a disaster declaration for California, freeing up aid to the dozens of counties impacted by wildfires. In Los Angeles, Jonathan Hunt, Fox News.
A bit later, water pollution.
The world's fresh water supply is in jeopardy. I'm Kevin Cork in Washington with more on the top industries when it comes to polluting and wasting H2O. That's just ahead.
We saw another hot and humid day across the area. It's just kind of something on repeat, unfortunately, but that's about to change. That's the good news. First, though, take a look at this time lapse from Indigo Sky Casino and Resort just outside of Seneca, Missouri. A beautiful time lapse there, showing the sun go by, showing it baking us just a little bit. And you can see what the bake setting was set to over the last 36 hours. 95 yesterday and about 95, 96 again today is what we were cooking at. Right now, 7th and range line, pretty clear, and still pretty warm too. We're sitting at 86 right now in Joplin. Southeast breeze at about 3. Heat index is 91, that dew point 71. And it's just unpleasant. Those temperatures are kind of the trend around the area. Most of us are sitting in, we got some upper 70s, which isn't bad, but the rest of us are lower to mid 80s at this hour. And with the dew points factored in, they are a bit high. And that's why we have those heat indexes that are so high, because we're sitting in that muggy to soupy range, unfortunately. And that gives us these feels like readings, still sitting at 91 in Webb City. 86 in Pittsburgh, 84 in Fort Scott, just rather unpleasant. So, like I said, there's some changes on the way, so let's start getting to that. Tomorrow, take a look. You can see a few isolated thunderstorms, some showers, mainly on the Missouri side, mainly about 4 o'clock and after, kind of like we saw today, not a lot out there. Starting the day at 76, 85 by 10, 91 at noon, 96 by 4 o'clock. Heat advisories gone from this part of southeast Kansas, gone from northeast Oklahoma, but Cherokee, Crawford, Bourbon counties in southeast Kansas, all of southwest Missouri still under it until 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. Skywatch Storm Tracker, nothing going on in our area. All the action locally confined to the St. Louis area, and even that is beginning to die out. So let's go ahead and dive into when we might actually see a little bit of relief. So when we start the day, it's going to be pretty toasty. We get into the afternoon, we're looking at highs maybe around 96 or so for most of us. We're looking at the mid to upper 90s, heat index values in the 100s. And then by Saturday, it's starting off still kind of mild, 75, still warm in the afternoon, but more scattered thunderstorm chances building in, and those chances are going to increase as we get through the weekend, because take a look behind me. This is a cold front off to the northwest, and it's going to try and make its way down to our area sometime Sunday into Monday, and that might give us a better chance of showers and thunderstorms. Until then, though, it's going to be toasty, like I said earlier, and then by Saturday, not as toasty, a little less toasty, thankfully. And on the 7-day forecast, one more alert day for that heat advisory on Friday, and then check out the thunderstorm chances. It's 10, 20, 30, and then 50%, and then some mild temperatures as we head through the week. So we do have a storm, that cold front that wants to bring some thunderstorm chances in here by the start of next week. It also wants to bring the temperatures down, and then it'll be kind of nice, kind of mild before they start to heat up again by the end of next week.
Good gosh, yeah, 89 degrees seems nice.
It's almost gonna feel like you need a jacket out there compared to what we've seen.
Yeah, I guess. All right, Chris Warner, thank you. Coming up in sports, Liberal Bulldogs preparing for tomorrow night's season opener with a new head coach. Also, Webb City's seniors aiming to lead the Cards back to the softball state championship. Jacob Leonard has those stories next.
The Liberal Bulldogs are less than 24 hours away from their first game of the season. Now, this year is the first year for the team under head coach Garrett Zuha. And Danny Terzer catches up with the Bulldogs to talk about beginning a new era in Liberal.
It's a new era for the Liberal Bulldogs under head coach Garrett Zuha. Zuha has a long history with 8-man football.
That's all I've known. I've actually never taken a snap or coached any 11-man football, so it was a good position. I know Liberal has been, I think this is their third year in 8-man football, so I'm hoping to bring down some knowledge to them.
He has quickly built chemistry with his new team.
He brings energy every day and gets us motivated to want to work hard for him. I feel like it's more of an opportunity than a challenge. He's really adapted more to us than we've had to adapt to him so far. Like I said, I was fortunate to meet him this summer, and I've spent a couple months with him now and those types of things. So when football came around, you know, those relationships were already in place, and everyone's kind of bought into what we're doing around here, and it's been a fun process.
His philosophy starts with discipline.
One thing I always tell the boys is, you know, if you want to be a good football player, if you want to be a good athlete, you know, you got to have character, don't be a character. So we're coming out here, hopefully we're well-disciplined team and do things at a high level.
The Bulldogs are building off a 6-3 season.
We lost a couple seniors, but I feel like we have a lot of players that are willing to step up this year and are fully capable of stepping up for us. I think if we play our best every night, there's not very many teams that are going to be able to beat us.
Their first test is right around the corner.
I think it's crucial to set the tone. The past few years, we really got off to a slow start, and we want to change that this season.
In Liberal, Danny Terzer, KOAM Sports.
Liberal is at home for their season opener tomorrow night, hosting the Archie Whirlwinds. The Webb City softball team is just 4 days away from their season opener. Now, Webb City had a special season last year, finishing as the Class 4 state runner-up. Now, the Cards have a talented group returning, aiming to get back to state and finish the job this fall. The Webb City Cardinals got a taste of the state championship game last season, and they want more.
They're definitely hungry to get back in that big game, and they're working hard every day to compete and get back to that spot.
I strive in every single one of us. I mean, 9 of us are seniors, so every single one of us have had the opportunity to play in that state championship game.
It has driven us because, as our motto is, unfinished business. So every day you step out on the field, you just want to get a taste of that back.
The Cardinals have no shortage of experience. 6 of their 9 seniors are returning starters, including all-state selections Peyton Hawkins and Emma Welch.
Every single one of us have been in games where it takes a lot to win a ball game, so we're all used to that.
We all have that experience, and having seniors, we've played a lot, and we all have a connection together, and I feel like that'll help us a lot this season.
We do have a lot of leadership, and you know, several girls are stepping up, both vocally and in their actions.
They can hit and they can play defense. The biggest change for Webb City is in the circle, with COC Player of the Year Hayden Berry graduating. The Cards will lean on a few different pitchers this fall, including freshman Lainey Taylor.
She's worked really hard all summer to improve, and she's going to do great for us.
We are all confident in her as a freshman to step up and get on the mound and do the job.
She has put a lot of hard work in during the off season, and you can tell every single day at practice she comes out and she knows what her role is and she's there to do it. So I have a lot of confidence in her that she'll keep working hard and she'll do a lot for us this season.
Webb City opens up their schedule on Monday night at home against the Nevada Tigers. Now that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Having access to clean drinking water is something many of us probably take for granted, right? But new research is showing how certain industries that provide us with objects we use nearly every day could be harming the water supplies we need to survive. Fox News correspondent Kevin Quirk explains.
We only have so much fresh water available on the planet.
While 71% of the earth is covered by water, only 1% is able to be used for drinking. And that supply is actually under attack. According to new data from the nonprofit analysis group Carbon Disclosure Project, fast fashion and fossil fuel corporations are the #1 water polluters and wasters, something environmentalists say is problematic, with more than half of the global freshwater supply potentially being altered by chemicals.
Companies in particular control or influence around 70% of that water, either through their direct operations or through their supply chains, including, of course, agricultural supply chains.
For instance, wastewater from garment factories can contain dye used to color clothing. That tainted water can then seep into the ground or worse, flow into streams and rivers, killing off plants and fish while contaminating drinking water for surrounding communities. Researchers hope this information will not only give these industries a clearer picture of their environmental impacts, but also incentivize the financial corporations that back them to help promote change.
This is going to provide a breakthrough moment for them to be able to figure out who or which companies in their portfolios offer the greatest chance to deliver that outcome that we're looking for.
The cotton industry also ranks high on the list of top water polluters, as those crops require a great deal of pesticides and water resources to grow. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
A check of what's new to the movie theaters and at-home movie watching when we come back. A highly anticipated new horror movie is on theater screens this week, while comedy, documentaries, and more screen at home. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
A scary movie leads the way in theaters.
How is the story retold for Candyman?
This one is being billed as a spiritual sequel to the 1992 film Candyman. It's directed by Nia DaCosta, produced by Jordan Peele. Story picks up in modern day, and it focuses on an artist who has ties to the events of that original 1992 film. He returns to the now gentrified neighborhood seen in that 1992 film to investigate the real story behind the urban legend.
Lily is the only professional domino artist.
Discovery Plus adds Lily Topples the World.
This is about a young girl, Lily Havish, who's like the only female in her field of domino topping. And it's about her navigating the complexities of being one of the best in that field.
Emily and Marcus! Vacation friends crash the party at Hulu.
What happens when that couple that you meet on vacation does not want to leave you alone and follows you home?
Netflix flips the script with He's All That.
An updated remake of the iconic 1999 film She's All That. In the new film, this time a teen girl looks to make over her nebbish looking classmate and turn him into the school stud.
Plus, the streamer has Clickbait, starring Adrian Grenier as a father who shows up on an online video with a shocking message, leaving his family to investigate. It's a long way. And the Clickbait binge watching has already begun. The 8-episode limited series is available now. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you on National Dog Day with pictures of some 4-state best friends. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.